Hello and welcome to Climbing Daily. Alex Honnold's mum has got to have nerves of steel, and I was lucky enough to meet Alex's mum, Dierdre Wolownich, at the Kendal Mountain Film Festival. She's just written a book called The Sharp End of Life, which explores a variety of themes, including being Alex's mum, her discovery of climbing, and being 66 years old and climbing El Cap. This is an exclusive interview.
Enjoy.
Just down there, yeah, thank you.
Okay, so
that's probably okay down there. That's fine. Right, okay, let's get started.
my name is Dierdre Wolownich. I'm here at the Kendal Mountain Festival talking about my new book called The Sharp End of Life.
So the big question then is, how would you like to be that kid's mother?
2 years ago, I became the oldest woman to ever climb El Capitan in Yosemite. To my great surprise, I climbed it with my son, Alex Honnold, just 3 months after he had done that monumental climb of his that became the movie Free Solo. And I've only been climbing 10 years. I started in '09 just to find out what my son's life was like, to see if I could learn the language he spoke, because climbing jargon is quite specific, and I'm a language person. I like to know what's going on around me, and I didn't back then. And so I started climbing. The very first time was with my son, and then I made my own group of friends in the climbing gym, the climbing wall indoor. And we started going outdoors, and it just became a lifestyle thing. I'm not a pro climber by any stretch of the imagination. I'm just a lifestyle climber, a weekend climber, whatever you want to call it. And it got more and more important in my life, and every year I go climbing with my son at least once or twice, and for my birthday usually he takes me up something extraordinary. And I got to the point where I did a small big wall with my son called Royal Arches, and I started thinking about, I wonder, that was in Yosemite, I wonder if I could do that other big wall just down the road, El Cap. This is, the myth for all climbers, the dream for all climbers. First to see El Cap in person, and then to maybe get on it, So Alex said, yeah, sure, but you have to learn how to jug. So the book starts and ends on El Cap, the day that we did it. We did it. Another remarkable part of climbing with my son is you always go very fast. So we did El Cap. My very first attempt on El Cap was to do it in one day. We went up and down in one day, which I still find amazing. At my age, I was 66 when I did it, and it's not obvious that you have that much energy to do that in one day, but we did. We did 13 hours up and 6 hours down. So my son's reasons for doing what he does have always been the same, and I watched them happen when he was 1 and 2 and 3 and 10, and my reaction to it or understanding of it, whatever you want to call that, hasn't exactly changed. It's enlarged a little bit, but I saw this happening. He was always different from the other kids. He had the drive, and he had the 100% knowledge that he could do this, and they couldn't. And so yes and no. My understanding of why he does what he does has enlarged, but it's basically been the same all this time. I had to accept that he was different, and he knew things about himself and about himself in relation to the world, the physical world, that nobody else knew, including me. And we had to all just trust that. Because when he was 3, if he was at the top of the tallest tree and all the other mothers are yelling, "Get him down from there, he's a bad example," and the other little kids would fall. I knew that things were different in his world, the way he saw things, and so yeah, I've just been working, expanding that all my life. Everything's sort of on hold for the movie. His life has changed completely, and he's very hard to reach. The only time I ever talk to him nowadays is He always calls me when he's at an airport waiting for a flight, and we talk and talk and talk. So yeah, I can't really plan anything with him until the whole movie thing dies down and our lives are a little more normal, whatever that is. I will never be a very good climber. My aims, my goals, whatever you want to call them, are probably different than a young person starting climbing. You know, I'm old. You know, I could be your grandmother maybe. I don't have much upper body strength. I can't do a pull-up. I can't do push-ups. You know, nonetheless, women have a certain advantage over men in climbing in that they come into it not convinced of their own brawn, their own, what do you want to call it? What's the word for that? Upper body strength. There's a word for it. They don't just want to power through the climbs with their arms. You know, they're lean more towards strategy, technique. You know, to compensate for that. Guys, generally speaking, and again, this is a horrible generalization, but if you watch the young guys at the gym, a lot of them do tend to pull themselves up the climb, you know, using their arms, and then they wear out and they say, this is hard, you know, and it is hard if you're doing it that way. Some of my climbing goals, more climbing oriented goals are kind of simple. Like I said, I started climbing, I was going to say overseas, but it's not all overseas, but in foreign countries. And I'd like to expand that a lot. I'd love to climb in the Alps. I want to try the Gritstone here. I want to go climb at Stanage here. I want to try, you know, the Alps, the Dolomites. I'd love to go climb in Japan. We lived in Japan for 4 years, and it feels like home. But I wasn't a climber then. I didn't know about climbing then, and I have since seen many videos, especially about my son climbing in Japan, and it looks wonderful. I'd love to try it. And I'm invited to go climb in China, but then I had this surgery on my foot, so that's on hold for now. But I would love to do that. I may just have to pop over there for the Olympics and hop over to China. I don't know. But yeah, I have lots of goals, but go on and on. The book, Sharp End of Life. Called the Sharp, you know why it's called the Sharp End of Life now, right? You're a climber. Sharp end. The harder end, the more consequential end, the more dangerous end for sure. My entire life has been on the sharp end, so it just seemed appropriate to call it that. The Sharp End of Life is available anywhere you buy books. You can get it online, you know, Amazon or any local bookstore can order it. Anywhere you buy books.
Lovely to meet you and best of luck with the book. And if you guys want to check out that book, there's a link in the description below. Thanks for watching and I'll see you soon.